Welcome to this short class on foot fundamentals, looking just to get your foot woken up. So quite a nice routine to do pre-session, pre-run, pre-any activity in the gym itself. So we're going to start with the first drill called the foot torques, and I want you to have your hands in two L shapes, pressing the thumbs on the front of the pelvis, and I want to have the feet about shoulder width apart here. And what we're going to do is keep our breathing nice and regular. I want you to rotate around over the right hand side, and when you do, I want you to feel the weight in what we call zone 1 on the outside of the heel on the right hand side. So the weight should be on the outside of the heel, but try and keep the big toe in place to the ground. So we're not rolling the foot off, the foot stays in contact. At the same time, on the second foot, the left foot in this case here, the weight should be through what we call zone 2, which is the big toe itself, and minimal on the heel itself. But at the same time, we're not lifting the pinky toe up, we're just rolling over onto the big toe itself. So, for 2 minutes, we're going to just, what we call, try and find zone 1, zone 2, zone 1, zone 2. And interestingly enough, what you'll find is when you're in zone 1 on one foot, you'll be in zone 2 on the opposite foot. And what we're trying to do here is we're really trying to explore supination and pronation. Now, supination and pronation are combinations of dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, the combination of inversion, eversion, and abduction of the foot itself. So 3 kind of planar movements are involved with both these movements. So we're going to go for 2 minutes altogether, so we've got another minute and a half to go. And again, keep the thumbs feeling the hips, hips rotate. There shouldn't be any weight transfer, but at the same time explore transferring the weight over to one side. Does it feel the same on the left hand side as it does on the right hand side itself there? Is it easier to supinate, i.e. lift the arch off the ground on one side, and is it harder on the opposite side, or is it easier to pronate on one side than the other side itself? So very, very simple, very, very nice, easy self-check test to do is to see how that foot moves. And you'll find there'll be some clicks, clunks, some little noises there. As long as there's no pain, that's absolutely fine to do. Explore it super, super slow and range both directions, and then explore it just a little bit more dynamically when we're going side to side there. So we're really trying to explore the heel, find the outer side of the heel you're rotating to. Good. 30 seconds to go. The whole foot should be in contact with the ground the whole time. So we're really trying to find the outside border and also keep the big toe down. So heel, 5th tarsal, big toe, all in contact with the ground, but the weight transfer will change. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, excellent. And next exercise we're going to do, so this exercise is going to be called our pronation lunge, or step lunge itself. So we're going to work the right foot first of all. So the right foot comes forward. Now what the back foot I want to do is to be like a kickstand, so it's only there for balance itself there. Keep the stance leg, in this case the right leg, still or straight, and I want you to find the weight being on the heel itself. I then want you to have the thumbs dig into the back of your hip and invite yourself forward, and just let that knee bend as you push the hips forward until you feel that the heel is about to come off the ground. So again, push the hips forward and then back out. You might feel a sensation down the back of the calf as you do this. You might find, if you're doing it right, a slight deviation in towards the big toe. So as we come back, the weight's in the heel, maybe we're in zone at the back of the heel, and as we come forward, we might be on the big toe itself. So we've got 2 minutes here, up, over, and back down. push the hips up and over. So we're not just lunging forward with the knee, we're coming up and over. We're stacking the body over that foot. And at any time when you're fully loaded, you should still be able to lift the toes off the ground rather than really gripping into them themselves. So I'm just going to explore this movement here. Weight in the heel, weight in the big toe. So we're really exploring that movement. And it all comes from the hips coming forward and then knees bend. So we're going to really try and focus on that movement there. If you're thinking the knees must go over the second toe, allow it to deviate to where it wants to go. So don't worry about where it goes, just let it go to where it wants to. Now if you are a high supinator or have a really high medial arch, you might find that you stay quite lateral, i.e. you might stay out between the third, fourth and fifth toes. If you have reduced arch, i.e. a wee bit flatter feet, you might find that your weight really comes across onto that big toe itself there. What you do is try and experience where you go, but at the same time I want you to control it with the hips coming over the foot, rather than just allowing the foot to collapse into where it feels it needs to go. So super, super slow, hips high, use your thumbs to guide you forward, and the back leg itself should be able to come off the ground at any time. It's just there for balance, to allow us to explore this range of motion. 10 seconds, we're going to switch over to our opposite foot. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch over. We're going to work the left foot now. Right foot is a kickstand. We're going to do the exact same things. Hands on the hips, weight on the heel, straight leg, push the hips forward, allow the knee to bend. If you find your stance is too wide or too far apart, change the depth. So weight on the outside heel, weight comes forward to the big toe. Up and over with the hip. And you'll see as I drift, my left arm comes forward, my right arm goes slightly back. So I do have a rotation to that big toe itself. Now it should just be minimal. We're not trying to force it. It'll go where it wants to go. But the key thing is lift the hip up, over, then bend the knee to allow that supination and pronation movement. So supination here, big toes still down, weights on the heel, arch should be its highest. And as we come forward, we're going to go into pronation, which is going to be a wider, flatter foot. And what we're doing is when we come back here, the joints at the top of the foot are going to be open, the joints at the bottom of the foot are going to be closed. And as we come through here, the joints at the top of the foot are going to be closed and the joints at the bottom are going to be open. So we're causing a little bit of movement into the joints themselves. Again, pronation and supination, a combination of lots of different movements, and we want to try and make sure we keep them as clean as we can. So if you find there's a stiffness or a difference between right and left, then just work through the day on just getting yourself practicing the pronation and supination. So this one here, the step lunge itself. Don't rush it, keep it nice and controlled. Think about the quality rather than how many repetitions you do, and think about just exploring what happens to my knee. Where does my hip go as I'm coming over the foot itself? Excellent, relax. So we're now going to go into our box drill. So again, we're going back to our first foot, which is our right foot. Now it stays completely stuck to the ground itself. Imagine a box in the hand, and all we're going to do is step our left foot back, take the box towards the ground. Now the leg stays completely straight here, the knees quite close to being locked out here. Now as we come back, the weight should be on the outside board of the heel. Don't allow the big toe to lift up, keep it down. And as we step forward, we're going to really push towards the ceiling itself. Keep the heel down, okay? So at this point here, the weight on the back leg is going to be through the big toe. And as we transverse back, it's going to be through the heel itself. We've got 2 minutes each leg here. So keep working through the range. Keep it as active as possible, reach as low as you can, and then come through and stretch. Down we go, keep the breathing nice and regular. Keep it quite dynamic, but be quite deliberate. So slow it right down, and then step right through. Closing the hip joint down, but opening the ankle joint up. And then open that hip flexor up, closing the ankle down to dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion of the foot with hip flexion and knee extension. And then we're going to have hip flexion, opening the hip up, knee extension and dorsiflexion of the foot. But more interestingly enough, we're going to have supinated front foot, pronated back foot, and we're going to have a pronated back foot and a supinated front foot. So we're working between all sorts of different movements here. When you come back here, push the hips and accept the weight into the hip itself. And as you step forward, I want you to tuck the hip underneath as well. So really getting a good co-activation of that gluteal and a stretch of the hip flexor. 30 seconds. Good work. Be attuned to what's happening at the foot as well. So we should go on the heel, outside the heel, transfer forward to the big toe. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 1, zone 2, 3, 2, 1. Switch over. Now the left foot is completely stuck to the ground. The right foot is going to be the one that moves forward and backwards. So again, we're going to find ourselves with the box, step back, step forward. And you might find the range is a little bit less to start off with here, especially at the hamstring and especially at the hip flexor. But we're finding our heel, zone 1. We're finding the big toe, zone 2. Zone 1, zone 2. Really opening out plantar flexion, really closing down into dorsiflexion. So we're working ankle range. We're then going to find we're working knee terminal extension. You'll also find as well you're working depth of the hip. In order for the hip to work, in order for the hip to stretch, you have to take it through as much range as we can. So really push the hip back here. Sit back into the hip and then really tuck that pelvis underneath. And the reach has to be good both directions. So reach as far as you can. Lengthen the shoulder and lengthen the shoulder here. Try not to bounce on the movement. Be quite consistent through it. Good job. And if you feel that you're moving well, start to change the angle that you're stepping forward onto. You can leave that for another day itself. Just now, focus on straight forward, straight back. Zone 1, zone 2. And I want you to get used to that phrase, zone 1, zone 2, and think about when you're walking, when you're standing, when you're waiting for the kettle to boil, brushing your teeth. Which zone am I in? Perfect. And our last drill today is going to be our single leg stand, but it's going to be an active single leg stand. So again, we're going to take our right foot. Our right foot is going to be our stance 1. Our left leg is going to be a kickstand at the back. I want you to again have hands on the hips, and I want you to think about, can I take the weight onto the heel to start off with, and we're going to pull the heel, weight onto the hip first of all, my apologies, and pull the hip forward over the foot, and then we're going to push our hips back into our track start position, but the knee stays forward. Now sometimes what will happen is, as you come there and you push the hips back, you'll lose the knee. Knee comes on, then bend over without the knee coming back, and now we'll hold for 45 seconds. And I want you to really press down into the ground with the foot. If you want a little more hamstring, try and pull the foot back underneath yourself, but press right down straight away. And the back foot should be able to come off the ground at any time there. So press and hold, push the hip back. If you wish to, just tap the glute to make sure it's working, run the hand on the hamstrings, run the hand onto the quads, and if you can, just the top of the calf should be kicking as well. Press down. Deep breath in, on the exhalation, push into the ground. Hold there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax back out. Give the leg a little shake. We're going to go into the left hand leg now, first set. So the left foot's going to be our stance one. The right one's going to be the kickstand, so it's just going to be coming out the back here, only there for balance. Legs start straight, hands on hips. We're lifting the hips up and over to allow that knee to bend. Weight should transfer from the heel to the midfoot, more towards that zone 2 big toe. Then we're going to keep that knee in position and slowly bend at the hip. Don't allow the knee to come back. Hold and then push down through the ground. Really push down through the ground. It's not a balance drill, but really try to use the stance leg to stabilize. Push down through the ground. Push down through the ground. Really push down into that hip, into the hamstring. Quads working really, really nicely now. Press down. Really press. 5. In fact, that's a lie, sorry, 15 seconds, can't count. Keep the back long, push the hip down, keep the knee forward, weight on that glute, feel that glute working hard there, good. Engage with the ground. 2, 1, and relax back out. And you'll find everything working there. Perineals on the outside of the ankle working, quads working, calves working, hamstrings working, glute working, lower back working to keep that movement. So, second set, right foot's going to be back in, so our first leg again. We start off leaning with the weight on the heel. Now that's important because we want to lift up and over and then allow the knee to bend. And then we keep the knee in that position as we take our nose forward and our chin forward. Hold. Now I want you to press down through the ground. Really push hard through the ground. Tap the glute. Is it on? Hamstring. Is it on? Quad. Is it on? If you want to, try and pull that heel back underneath your bottom to get more hamstring, but this is absolutely fine here today. Hold here. Really working hard. Press down through the ground. Really pushing. Active. Be long through the back. Not let your back curl around. Keep yourself long through that spine. Push the hip back. Really try and keep pushing the hip back, but don't allow the knee to sneak. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Excellent job. And again, it's left leg. Second set. Ready. Kickstand with the right. Leg nice and straight. Bring your hip up and over, allowing it to bend where it wants to bend. Explore zone 2 into the big toe. Push the hip back and press down through the ground. Now we start the clock. Good. Hold here. If you want to put in a reach, please do. Just bring that opposite arm in from the stance leg. Light on the back leg, all the way down, and press really hard down through that foot. One of the key mistakes is when we go into the hip hinge, the knee comes back. Keep the knee over that zone 2 of the big toe. Okay, so really work the glute here. 15 seconds. Press down to the ground. Keep the back long. Keep the breathing and ribs down. Natural breathing. really work and relax there, good job. One more set each side to finish off with, okay? So we're back onto the right hand side, and the right hand foot is going to be the forward foot, the left hand side is going to be the kickstand. I want you to sit back on the heel, deep breath in, invite the hips forward into our lunge, good, and then I'm going to invite the hips back, but don't allow the knee to come back, knee stays in its fixed position. Push down to the ground, so really push down, but at any time your toes should be able to wiggle off the ground. We're not gripping, we're not clawing our toes on. Press down to the ground. If you want hamstring pull, heel back the way, or try and get that sensation of pulling the heel under the hip, hold here. Push down to the ground. It's all in the layers of setting the exercise up, so make sure everything's done to its fullest range. Good job. Hold here. And relax back out. Good job. Last one off the left hand side. Left hand foot forward. Right hand foot back. Hips nice and straight. Leg nice and straight. Fingers and hips. Invite yourself up and over the front of the foot. Once you get into that zone 2, put in your hip hinge, but don't let the knee creep out. Good. Hold there. Press down through the ground. Long through the lumbar spine. We're not curling around. And any time that back leg should come off the ground, press down. Feel the glute. Is glute working? Is hamstring working? Good. Is quad working? Is calf working? And is the foot working? Big toe pressing into the ground. You should find when you're doing this here, there's not much deviation from the foot because we're loading it up. We're working really, really hard. Rather than a passive single leg stand where the foot might rock and roll, I want you to really try and think about pressing that foot down to engage with the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, and back out. Well done, guys, and that's our first class of the foot fundamentals. Any questions, please reach out to me.